Tonight, the whole country is talking about the Genie Awards, aren't they?
And don't you hate it when you go to the pool to look at boobs, and then some chick ruins it by feeding her kid?
The farms at UBC may buy the farm. Wordplay.
And we'll pry that gun out of your cold, dead hands. This is the City News List. Good evening. Our top story on the list tonight, are gangs in the Lower Mainland on the brink of collapse? That's what one expert says after a surprise plea Friday by gang member Dennis Karbanovic. Admitting guilt for his role in the 36 shootings 18 months ago, his plea led to the arrest and charge of 3 others, including one of the Bacon brothers. They announced this. Well, you remember on the weekend they had another shooting right after the announcement, but doesn't take away the steam from the announcement.
Yeah, the cops are really...
Maybe a little.
The police are really excited about this. They're, you know, putting it out there like they cracked this case. But I can't help but wonder if it wasn't Dennis's lawyer that was like, hey, look, you're going to get shot if you don't just plead guilty and get off the street. Or that's just
go
purely...
to somewhere where you'll get shivved.
Instead, it's way easier to survive a shivving than a shooting, I learned.
Well, it's good news. It's good news for the families, right? That they finally starting to charge somebody. Right? In the
the families of the victims. Yeah, of course.
Yeah,
that's like the families of the, like, they're all brothers. No, yeah, it is. I mean, the woman, one of the mothers who lost her son in the 36 shootings, said, you know, she's mixed emotions today. Obviously, this doesn't bring her son back, and you know, it is. It's still sad, and unless I think, you know, unless we. It's great that they've caught him, and unless we root out the sources of these drug wars. Vancouver seems to be content to treat drug wars like herpes. You know, when they come up, then deal with them until they go away, and then just forget they ever happened afterwards. That's what happens.
We got the same doctor. But what does this do for the war against gang crime in the Lower Mainland?
Our mugs, right? I think when you get rid of you know, somebody like this, somebody at the top of a chain of command, that doesn't mean that post just vanishes. It doesn't mean that there's no longer the buyers and the sellers and all this type of stuff. It just means now there's a vacuum, either to be taken over by a bigger gang or to bring in a whole new gang. So I don't, you know, I don't think it is cause for celebration, but it's not the end of the road, right?
But they are saying that the fact that the Red Scorpions are turning on each other, that signifies that maybe that gang is going to be done. So we just have about 18 more to deal with.
18 more?
We're done.
The countdown begins.
It's less confusing than it was before. Okay, there's only 3.
An historic ruling in Ontario this weekend where a man was found guilty of first-degree murder for knowingly infecting women with the HIV virus. 2 of his sexual partners have died from AIDS-related disease. This has not been done, this is why a precedent for a reason. No one's talked about HIV and the knowing murder of somebody. Is this worth a first-degree murder charge?
Well, I mean, there was a time when, like, if you killed somebody with drinking and driving, you weren't charged with murder. You would be charged with negligence, or there were other crimes that you'd be charged with. So maybe this will be a thing in the future, and this is the kind of the landmark case that started it. I mean, it will be appealed. There's no doubt about that, and there's justification for an appeal. It's hard to track who would have given these people the virus. But it's, yeah, I mean, these things have to start somewhere, and what kind of punishment do you dole out for something like this?
That's the problem, though, is that morally, yes, I think that it's like a murder charge. This was an awful thing to do. He didn't tell these women, and he was told by his, you know, caseworkers and the medical community that he had to. But murder, like, it's not murder. You know, it's 20 years later or 10 years later that people pass away through various complications. So I don't think it should have been first-degree murder.
Something more like criminal negligence, or
manslaughter, or
aggravated sexual assault.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure in his new place of residence, he'll be sure to let anyone who wants to have sex with him know about his condition. So in that case, he at least has been rehabilitated.
Always seeing the bright light.
Yeah, you know, looking for the optimistic side of things. No, I mean, this is, I tend to agree with Erica. I think it's hard to, because there are all kinds of things. Like, for instance, there are some adults, consenting adults, who both are infected with HIV or AIDS, and they might choose to have unprotected sex with each other. Well, what doctors will tell you is that actually is damaging and can make the virus stronger and bring on death sooner. So in that case, is someone being criminally negligent there? Like, it's a very gray area, and I'd feel much more comfortable with something like manslaughter or aggravated sexual. I don't feel comfortable with those things. I feel comfortable with charges of those things in this case.
We'll move this along to something Charlie might like to talk about. A group of moms. A group of moms in Calgary. No, that was your intro. A group of moms in Calgary say they're happy they can breastfeed in a municipal pool after a lifeguard stopped one mom from nursing her baby in the pool. The women had planned to nurse in at the pool, but city officials stepped in to clarify that it's okay for them to breastfeed on civic property. That specific case has been dealt with already.
Yeah.
But this comes up a lot where someone is told they can't breastfeed and then a whole bunch of moms show up and like, watch us, and out come the boobs, and then, you know, out come the people watching. And but this case is interesting because I agree with the women. They should be allowed to breastfeed their children. But then the lifeguard brought up a good point. He said, well, no one's allowed to eat in the pool. And I was like,
Yeah, what if your kid doesn't like breast milk? He likes ham sandwiches. Then what are you going to do?
I mean,
Slippery slope.
No one's allowed to pee on the bus either, but we make an exception for infants allowed to pee on the bus. I never said no one
with impunity on the bus.
You're acting. That's an infantile way to ride the bus. I agree.
This segment is called Inappropriate Analogies. But is there a weird double standard going on here when it comes to breastfeeding in the pool?
Double D standard. You know what I'm talking about?
I'm going to use that as a springboard. Because earlier I was saying there's absolutely women should be able to breastfeed wherever. But is there not any room for, there seems like there's never any room for discussion. Like if I blow my nose and somebody says, get out of here, that's gross. I don't show up with 80 of my friends the next day and we all blow our nose and be like, you know, it's going to be the blow-off or the blowout.
Are you comparing blowing your nose, which is gross, to feeding a defenseless little cute baby?
I think
Is
if
that
you were
what you're
listening,
saying?
that's exactly what I just said.
Well, I expect some letters from moms and maybe a bunch of them in our lobby
Address them to
tomorrow.
Erica Sigurdsson at the CityNews List.
Graham Clark, breastfeeding. It's not a problem. I really think what's at the core of a lot of like men's discomfort with this is the fact that boobs are being desexualized.
Here we go.
Yeah, to use a technical term. The fact that women's breasts are being desexualized. Because it's the only time men ever complain about boobs.
I think Charlie meant to say broads jugs are getting unsexified. Is that what you meant to say?
Your Honor.
For those letter writers out there, that's Charlie and that's Graham. Folks, it's time for the short list. We've got news stories. We've got punchlines, starting with Graham.
Thank you, Paul. Venezuelan Diana Mendoza, who is crowned Miss Universe, has visited Guantanamo Bay and described it as a relaxing place, so calm and beautiful.
Observers say that her once hilarious pledge to use her crown to change the world is now terrifying.
When asked to clarify her comments, she replied, the history books such as, you know, world peace, such as terrorism and things such as.
Note to self, never visit Venezuela.
And breastfeed there. Scientists in Minnesota have found a drug that takes away the thrill that causes some kleptomaniacs to steal.
Women in Minnesota hope for a sharp drop in the numbers of men using pickup lines involving the stealing of stars, although ones with prearranged alphabets will continue to persist. They meant rearranged. That makes no sense at all.
Get over here.
I wish I had a pill to take the thrill of that joke away.
Nice.
The thrill of the pill, now it's gone. I can't do it.
The thrill and the pill, gone. However, stealing the drug is the most thrilling of all. See, I think is maybe where you want it to.
Commitment, Graham. Awesome. Tim Hortons in St. John, New Brunswick called the police when one of their drive-thru customers came through in a minivan wearing nothing but a smile.
When asked to identify the subject, the woman described him as old-fashioned plain.
The staff didn't mind until he rolled up his rim. Boom!
They nicknamed the man Bismarck because of the cream in the middle.
For $367,000, you can buy a toddler robot. The iCub is able to crawl, visually perceive and sense its surroundings, and use its hands to grip and manipulate.
I don't care what anyone says. If I want to change his batteries in the pool, I'll change his batteries in the pool.
When asked if she would be buying any, Angelina Jolie said she would wait until production had moved overseas.
And finally, when it reaches its teen years, you can purchase attachments to make it constantly nag at you, come home late on weekends, and sneak drugs into the house. Still to come, gauging road rage on Cambie Street. Like how you tied it into the whole bit.